We are starting a new series today, and I get the honor of launching us into it. Come on, has anyone been through a series of Song of Songs? Maybe a few of you. Okay. This is going to be a lot of fun. Song of Songs is in the Bible. Many will be shocked by this because maybe you've never read it before, but it's actually a really powerful book of the Bible that talks directly to relationships. But before we get started, I want to give you some 3 ground rules for this series. Are you ready? Okay, the first one, I want you to listen for yourself. Okay? I want you to listen for yourself, not your spouse, not your wannabe spouse, not the friend you're dating, the person you're dating, not for a friend. I want you to listen through this series for yourself. Second thing is, I don't want you to look back. I want you to look ahead. The enemy can come in these moments and try to plant seeds of shame, doubt, confusion. I don't have what it takes. I've already messed up. Nope, we want you to not look back. We want you to look ahead, okay? And the third, this is PG-13. So Parker shared a little bit ago that some of his sermons might be a little bit further than PG-13, but this is a relationship series, and we are going into Song of Songs. And so I just wanted to let you know, if you do have children, there it is, PG-13. But this is what I'm passionate about. The church is not talking about what the world is screaming about. We should not be taking our cues from TikTok. We shouldn't be taking our cues from Instagram Reels or YouTube. We need to be taking our cues from the Word of God and from the house of God. So when we come to our text today, we have a very westernized, Americanized thinking, which is heavily influenced by Greek culture and Greek thought. So the Greek thought has heavily disconnected the body and soul, which is why, now in our current century, we are trying to reconnect those things because we were founded on a Greek thought that disconnected body and soul. So the body, what the Greek thought said was the body is gross, but the spirit is good. There was this compartmentalization that would happen between the body and spirit. So it's like you would compartmentalize these things, and this is what's been deeply ingrained in us. But that's not what we see in the Bible, because the Bible is actually Hebrew thought. And so when we go to the Bible, it deeply connects the body, soul, mind, and spirit. And so we can't live disconnected. We can't disjoint all of these conversations. We are one, and God created us beautifully. He created us beautifully. He is the designer, so he gets to be the definer. He's the designer, so he gets to be the designer. I don't walk up in Free People, because that's my store, and see an outfit on the mannequin and say, I could have done better than that. I wasn't the designer. I wasn't the creator. Sometimes, right? I'm like, I don't know. But I don't question, because I wasn't the designer of this fit. This is exactly, God is the designer, the creator of who we are. So he gets to define relationships. He gets to define marriage. He gets to define sex. We have to have that as we go into this series as a foundation as we move forward to say, maybe I've had ideas and thoughts, and maybe for just a minute, we need to lay those down to say, the definer, I'm going to let the designer be the definer of this series. So before we go into Song of Songs, I want to give you some of our characters at play, okay? There's some characters in Song of Songs. And I want to encourage you as you go home this week and the next few weeks, go ahead and just read the whole book, okay? 8 chapters, probably will take you maybe 30 minutes. Pop it in your ear. We aren't going to go word for word and unpack all of it, but I would love for you to take the time to read it, okay? So here's some of our characters. We have the lover. Okay, we have a lover, and it actually calls him lover. This is Solomon. Sometimes in the book, we're going to see him as king, and other times we actually are going to see him as shepherd. And this is actually very interesting. He would disguise himself as shepherd, and when he would do this, this is actually when he found his beloved, this Shulamite girl who was in the fields working hard. And so because he was disguised as a shepherd, he got to meet this girl, the beloved, the Shulamite. She actually speaks 53% of the book. Come on, where's my women at? Parker actually speaks more in our marriage, but I think for the most part, women talk the most. He always has a lot of words. I love it. So we have the lover, we have the beloved. We're going to see friends, come on, who need some support. We're going to have friends in the book. And then we also have brothers, okay? So what I love is before we even get started and we see the characters on the scene, man, God does not just put a lover and a beloved. He actually says, I'm going to start you in community. Come on, that's a word for some of us. As we're dating, as we're in marriage, as we're in relationships, come on, do not do it alone. Do not do it alone. So he gives us these friends on the scene. So the book takes us through different seasons of love. We know there's different seasons. There's the pursuit, the dating, the, ooh, girl, I see you. Boy, you look good. You know, there's that. Parker showed up at my front door first date in short shorts and a long beard, you know. Very short shorts. We were going on a run. Okay, so I will be honest. I wasn't at first, like I had first glanced him before. This was like, we knew each other through college, dated way after. I wasn't like, oh boy, you look good in those short shorts. I was like, what are you doing? Now I look back and I'm like, I get you, I see you. And it was like the whole package deal, the humor, the like, I'm going to be exactly who I am. You love me or accept me. That was his game. So I love it. But okay, so we go through these different seasons. We go through the pursuit, the dating, the attraction, the love, the conflict. Come on. If you've been in any relationship, you know there's a little conflict in there. And then we go to commitment. And then we actually see the maturity at the end of the book. So don't worry, we're not going to go through all of that today. But I wanted you to just try to grasp your head around this book because it can be complex if we make it out to be that way. There are some things that are in this book that are said that have made theologians a little uncomfortable. Your breasts are like Twin Peaks. When that was said, theologians would say, well, it's actually, you know, the two mountains of Israel and God's love that's not what it was talking about, like at all. So I want us to look at this book as very literal, okay? It's going to showcase the glory and wonder of love through a marriage relationship. Okay, there's also a side of it that is a little bit mystical. You know this in reading scripture that, you know, you can read one thing as literal and there be a deeper meaning to it. You can expound the meaning. So as we look at it, we can also see a representation of God's love for his people and Yahweh's love for Israel. I don't believe that that is the main focus of this book, but I do believe we can look at it in context because our God is a big God. He is the creator of all stories and all creation. So why would we not? He talks about Christ being the church, Christ coming for his bride, which is the church. So if we can't connect some of these pieces together, also in Song of Songs, we're missing it. So, but it's not the main focus, okay? So then there's also the prophetic, which is a deeper meaning that illustrates Christ's love, like I just said, for the church. Okay, but because it's a poetic book, we have to approach it differently. Do I have any poets, you know, people that like to go sit in a hammock in the middle of Rocky Mountain and read poetry? You know what? Carlos, I have your poetry book in my house and I love it. I think if you need good poetry, a shout out to Carlos for just a second. Go to Space. It's a great poetic book. There it is. So if we misunderstand poetry, though, we misunderstand the meaning. So this is a song. It's a poem. We actually have to turn our brains on and go, okay, I need to actually understand what little foxes mean in this poem. So work with us as we try to engage our brain during this series, okay? So it's weird because there's a lot of metaphors that are being used in this book. So we have to do the work to understand. So imagine someone from historical times hearing our songs today. So, okay, we got Song of Solomon, we got David trying to understand our songs today. Okay, so if Song of Solomon heard this song today, they would go first, what is even a train? Right? Like they would have no context of what a train is. And then if we catch him and we go, there's also a blade. Like, what is a blade? You know, they're They're like making their own blades with sticks. They don't know what a blade is. So we have to actually go a little bit deeper to understand. In Song of Songs, we have the neck that looks like the Tower of David. Anyone ever see the Tower of David? No. So we first need to understand, what does the Tower of David look like to understand what her neck looks like? Okay, so then we have your belly as a mound of wheat surrounded by lilies. If you guys have not heard song, this is in the Bible. Okay, this is Song of Songs. His legs are like alabaster pillars. I'm going to use that, babe. Your eyes are like pools in Heshbon. What is Heshbon? Right. Your cheeks are like halves of pomegranates. Your teeth are like flock of freshly shorn sheep coming from the washing. I've never even thought to say these things, right? So Song of Songs paints this vivid picture of romance, blending these affection and desire, strengths and devotions. And every metaphor expresses something deeper than just mere attraction. It reveals a love that is strong, secure, poetic, and passionate. So come on, what we know about love is that it takes time. It's going to take time to understand this passage. It's going to take time as we pursue the one that we love. It's going to take time in marriage to be patient. So come on, today's message is fine wine. Fine wine, the art of pursuit. How many of you have ever chased after something you thought was love only to realize later it wasn't? I was there a few times. You just think you're in love. I'm telling my current, I won't throw any names out there. One of my children, hey, buddy, I don't know that you're in love yet. We're really just, wrestling through these ideas of like chasing after something and what love really is. But maybe it started strong and there was this excitement and chemistry and passion, but somewhere along the way that pursuit faded. We're going to talk about the art of pursuit. And the truth is, love that lasts isn't found, it's built. Okay, and so in this series, we're going to talk to all of you. If you're single, we're going to talk to you. If you're dating, we're going to talk to you. If you're married, we're going to talk to you. We're going to bring you all into the story. But how many of you know, whether you're single, dating, or married, you're pursuing after something? Okay, so we're going to talk about that pursuit today. And if you want a great marriage, it's not going to be microwaved. It's going to need to be marinated. If you want love that lasts, it won't be rushed, but it will be refined. It's going to take time. It takes time. My roast is currently marinating, and the longer it marinates, the better it's going to be. And that's exactly what we're going to lean into to go the time of the pursuit. So Song of Solomon reveals that it's not just found, it's pursued with patience and wisdom. Okay, so let me pause for just a second because I did not recognize this as we were going through the preface of the book. It can be a little confusing that Song of Solomon is the one writing this, okay? Let me just recognize that because some of you that know Song of Solomon, you're like, he had 700 wives. Like, is that 3 a year? 4? I mean, that's way more than 3 a year. Okay, so that's a lot of wives. And some people believe that he wrote this book prior to 700 wives. So the idea of what true love and romance would look like. Some believe that he wrote it after, at the end of his days, after experiencing 700 of us, ladies. 700. That's a lot of wives. Like, I'm a lot. I'm one. 700 wives. And some believe that at the end of his life or towards the end of his life is when he wrote this. So I just want to acknowledge that we do recognize that he had 700 wives, but at some point, Song of Solomon was the man who also asked God for wisdom, and God gave it to him. So at some point on his journey, he asked God for wisdom around relationships, and God blessed him with wisdom, okay? So I wanted to just pause that and let you know that. So today we're looking at Song of Songs 1 and 2. So if you have your Bibles, you can go ahead and open there. And we're going to see godly pursuit, okay? Real love isn't found, it's pursued. It's not just found. Marriages, you're not going to just stumble one day and wake up and be like, man, like we've arrived. Like, I love you even more than I did when we first got married. No, it is going to take pursuit to continue and to stay in love. It's not just about finding love, it's about pursuing it the right way. So let's dive in and look. Song of Solomon, Song of Songs, Song of Solomon. It's interchanged, okay? Chapter 1, verses 4. It says, the Song of Songs, which is Solomon, oh, that he would kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. This is how the book starts. Whew, for your caresses are more delightful than wine. Pursue purity over passion. Pursue purity over passion. Attraction gets attention, but it cannot be your foundation. Come on, he didn't start this book by saying, man, look at how she prays. No, he says, oh, that he would kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. It starts with attraction. Attraction is okay. Attraction is healthy. Attraction is healthy. And here's the deal. I don't care what these plastic surgeons are doing because everything is going to eventually change. Am I right? Everything that's up top is eventually going to move down low. You know, the things that get fixed are eventually going to sag. We're just not going to go into the details of that. But the reality is things are going to shift and change. The attraction must go deeper than just appearance. There is attraction, and then there is inspection for marriage. We're not just dating to date. I love this analogy of thinking of getting a house. So many of you have bought a house before. And you don't just like drive up to the house and see a house and be like, oh, like, okay, I like it. It looks good. We're closing today. That's not the process. The process is you see the house. You have this beautiful curb appeal. You see the house. You go and do a tour. Come on, you do a test drive. You go walk the house. You date the house a little while. You look around. Then you go through the process and you do earnest money. Come on, you put some money on the house. And then you go through inspection. You know, you're in this engagement series. Come on, nothing's locked in the engagement series. Is season. I don't know if anyone's told you that. Nothing's locked in yet, but you're in this engagement season. You're doing the inspections. You're meeting with counselors, all these things. And then there's a closing date. There's a finale. And some of us will get those things out of order, and it's pursuing this immediate chemistry, this immediate attraction, and boom, we're like, we're in. No, it takes time. Man, so many are going straight from curb appeal to closing, and many are wondering why foundation is broken. God has a plan and a design for relationships, and when we commit our lives to him, we're committing to his ways and his plans. That means not only when we surrender to him our heart, we're also surrendering to him our minds, bodies, souls, and spirits. We're surrendering all of it to him. When we get things out of order, that is when there's heartache, body aches, and damage. There's nothing wrong with physical attraction. The beloved says to the lover, isn't it? Oh, yeah, he said this. He looked at her and he said, I love the kisses of your mouth. You know, it was this moment going from, we have kids, and so it's when boys and girls go from cooties to, oh, I see you, girl. Because he designed us to desire each other. He designed us this way. Like, if you have attraction and you want to kiss the girl, you want to go home with the girl, God designed you this way. But there is an order to it. The logic of sex is, I want that for me. How can it fill me? The logic of love is, I will sacrifice and lay down my life for that because I love you. Lust takes and love gives. Verse 2 says, God created attraction and love always sacrifices. Your love, this is what it says, your love is more delightful than wine. Man, why does Sister Shulamite use the metaphor of wine? This is one of those things you have to pause and say, why is she saying your love is more delightful than wine? What do you think of when you hear the word wine? You savor it. It's tasteful. It's slow. But here's the thing with wine. When I think of wine, I think of time. I think of time. It didn't go from grape to cup in just weeks. It took a process. It took years. If you want to get yourself a vineyard and get yourself some grapes, you're looking at 3 to 5 years before you even get a vineyard, before you even begin to see grapes. And then even before you begin to see the clusters, it's then going to take another 4 to 5 years. I know this because when I was a teenager, my dad planted a grapevine in the back of our house, and it took 10 years before we saw grapes on that grapevine. There was a study done that showed that vineyard owners' marriages lasted longer because you're 10 years in before you even get wine. 10 years in. Great marriages, great relationships take time. When you're dating, take some time. Come on, if you go out to eat and you're sitting there with the guy, you're sitting there with the girl, and they just throw down the wine, come on, please just run. Please just run. This isn't a shot. Okay, the wine is to be savored. It's to be slowly sipped on. Come on, that's a sign. Man, it's going to take time. She looks to her friend in chapter 2, verse 7. And she says, young women of Jerusalem, I charge you by the gazelles and the wild does of the field, do not stir up or awaken love until the appropriate time. Man, don't let him or her access places of you until there is time, until there has been a commitment. I'm not trying to stop your pleasure because the pleasure is from God. This is what the Greek ideas say, is you need to separate the body is gross, the spirit is good. And then we come into these relationships with going, no. No, like the pleasure is good, it's healthy, it's a gift from God, but it is to be confined within commitment. It's like the fireplace analogy, right? Like probably you've heard this before, where a fireplace is good in the right place. We have a fireplace at home. I love turning that thing on in the morning. You know, I think I'm turning it on till June, okay? I turn that fireplace on, the heat comes on, and our fireplace produces good heat. It's comforting heat. I sit there and I like read my books by this heat. If you put that same fire without boundaries in the middle of my house, it's going to burn it down. This is what boundaries do. This is a God who created something beautiful within healthy boundaries. So as we are pursuing in a healthy way. Your love is as delightful as wine, and wine gets better over time. Gary Hamrick says this, passion is a gift, but when it's out of order, it leads to destruction. Are you awakening love before it's time? Culture says, if it feels good, do it. But God says, pursue purity and pursue patience. Passion without purity leads to pain. This goes for marriages, this goes for dating, but pursue purity over passion. Purity in your relationships, purity as you're dating, purity as you're looking for the one, purity in your marriages. Come on, love is a sacrifice. Lust takes. How many of you know that even in your marriages, you can take lust into your marriage relationships, into your sexual relationships? Love gives, lust takes. Song of Songs 1, verse 3 says this, the fragrance of your perfume is intoxicating. Your name is perfume poured out. No wonder young women adore you. Come on, we're going to pursue character over chemistry. In ancient times, a name represented a person's reputation and character. I believe that's the same for today. Even when we named our children, we took great pride and great time and great prayer in naming our children. Why? A name holds something. A name is a name of character, of strength. She isn't just drawn to Solomon's look. She admires his integrity and his godliness. She says the fragrance of your perfume is intoxicating. Your name is perfume poured out. All throughout Scripture, we see perfume being used as something that is offered, that is something that is given up, something that is cherished. Even as the wise men are coming to Jesus on his birthday, they're bringing fragrance. They're bringing perfume to put, it's something that is treasured throughout Scripture. Warren Wisby says this: the foundation of true love isn't passion, it's character. Chemistry fades, but character lasts. Chemistry fades, but character lasts. Attraction alone is like mixing baking soda and vinegar. Have you ever done this? It's kind of fun. Like if you have kids, you've done this. You mix baking soda, vinegar. It's okay if you try it when you get home. It's a lot of fun. And it literally will start exploding and rolling out, okay? So this is what it's an immediate attraction that has then an immediate reaction. What you'll find after about 5 minutes is it fades out and it's done. But character lasts. There's no depth, no staying powder, just a quick reaction. Love that lasts is more like, come on, fine wine. It's like, it doesn't happen instantly. It's cultivated, it's matured, and it's deepened over time. The best things aren't explosive, they are refined. Solomon's beloved isn't just drawn to his appearance, she's drawn to his name. First she's drawn to his appearance, which let me give you some tips. Come on, be attracted to the person. There's an attraction for everyone. Like culture sets a standard of what attraction should be, but the reality is like God has made you as an image bearer of him. There is someone attracted to you. There is gonna be someone attracted to you. And attraction is a good thing. But character, she's going, your name is perfume poured out. No wonder the young women adore you. In the ancient world, perfume took this time to make. It had to be crushed. It had to be blended. Even now, being in Boulder, they do this even with the herbs, and they do it with they'll go to the mountains and you crush it. You have to dry it. It's a process. But don't just chase love that fizzes and fades. Pursue love that ages well. That ages well. That's character. Man, stop looking for the one and start becoming the one. If you're single, focus on becoming the one, becoming a person of character. We can get so caught up in looking around us. Man, so-and-so doesn't have this. He doesn't have this. He's not doing this. He's not in the word. He's not praying. He's not serving in the church. Da-da-da-da-da. Are you doing that? Focus on you and taking ownership of that. And if you're dating, come on, build on godly character, not just attraction. Build on godly character. This goes back to that community, right? Like she had her sisters around her, not doing it alone, affirming her. Yes, I see what you're talking about, girl. He does have character. If you're the only one that sees that he has character, that might be an issue. Put him around some of your friends. Does he have character? And man, if you're married, pursue each other's hearts, not just your responsibilities. It doesn't get easier. We're going to be married almost 15 years, and we have to work harder now than ever before with 6 children to be intentional in our pursuit for one another. Don't give up on the pursuit. Just because you had character when you got married doesn't mean you have character now. Character is something that has to be pursued in your own life. It has to be pursued in your relationship. What does your name smell like? What is the fragrance of your name? Again, one of the ground rules. We're not looking at our neighbors. We're looking at us. What does your name smell like? What fragrance, when you leave a room, are you leaving behind? Are you leaving a fragrance of gossip? Are you leaving a fragrance of dishonor? Are you leaving a fragrance of attitude, of jealousy, of complaining? Man, I tell you, there's nothing more toxic than a negative spirit. We consistently work on this. This isn't something just for the dating. This is for the married folk in the room too. Come on, as we age, come on, let's not become the grumpy old grandparents, right? That have like seen a lot of life in their days, and they just kind of sit back and they're like, well, so-and-so, if they just didn't have the music as loud in church, then whatever they say, I don't know. But whatever the case is, as you get older, we have seen a lot. We have to pursue being the person that wants to be pursued. Here's a very quick character gauge for you, okay? I want you to write this down. So you're going to have to work out your fingers, or you're typing thumbs. If you're single or dating or married, write these down. And also take a self-test. Okay, this is a character gauge for you, but this is if you're single dating and you're looking for the one. Okay, here's you a character gauge. If you're married, are you still being this person? Are you in that continued pursuit of going, I'm going to continue to grow and get better? Are you ready? How they treat people that can do nothing for them. How do they treat people that can do nothing for them? The waiter, come on, the valet driver, the Uber driver. How do they treat people and when they don't get anything in return? How do they celebrate others that have more than them? This was spoken at our marriage. Don't compete, compliment. How do they handle correction? Who are they when no one is watching? How do they respond to pressure and adversity? How do you handle pressure and adversity? And I have to check myself on some of these things. How do they fulfill their commitments? Are they committed? How do they use their power and influence? Are they kind? How do they talk about others? Are they honoring? Are you uplifting? How do they handle money? How do they handle finances? Are they generous? Do they give? Man, where your treasure is, there your heart is too. Man, money will tell you a lot about a person. How do they pursue God when no one is watching? Man, we are going to chase after this in our community to say, you know what? We are going to be a people that pursues passion, that pursues purity over passion. We're going to be a people and a community that says, you know what? It's not just about chemistry. I'm going to focus on character. I'm not going to pursue something that is just temporary. I want to pursue something that lasts. This is holy. This is before God. Song of Solomon 1:5-6 says this: the woman feels insecure about her appearance, but Solomon continues to pursue and affirm her. This is what she says. She says, I feel dark. She says, I feel dark. Now, this was a cultural language. Now, we're like, us girls, we're like waiting for summer. I need to get my tan on. I'm feeling it. I'm like, I need that vitamin T. I'm ready for a little sun. But back in this day, in this culture, if you were dark, it meant that you had been in the fields. It meant that you were probably in a home that didn't have as much money, and you had to go do hard work in the fields, which meant she had a pretty dark suntan, and she's going, man, I'm dark. She's downing on herself. And the reality is we have to pursue consistency over complacency. And what we see Song of Solomon, what we see King Solomon do is he pursues her heart even in the midst of insecurities. He pursues her and he says, I will be a safe place for you. I will be the place of calm for you. David Guzik says this: true love reassures and pursues even in moments of insecurity. Many relationships start strong, but then lose pursuit over time. There's going to be many moments in our relationships that insecurity is going to creep in, lies are going to creep in. Come on, and we need to be in relationships that go, we can be consistent with whatever comes up. There's going to be trauma that comes up. There's going to be things of healing that needs to come up in our relationship, and we're going to be consistent. We're not going to just pull back when things get hard, but we're going to stay leaned in. God's design for love isn't passive. It's a lifelong pursuit. 14 times in Song of Songs, Solomon calls her beautiful. He's consistent. He shows over and over again, I'm going to pursue your heart. I'm going to pursue your heart with purity. I'm going to pursue your heart with character, and I'm going to pursue it consistently. Use your words. Come on. Some of us need to open our mouth. Use your words. Tell them that they're still attractive. Come on. Tell them they need that affirmation. Some of us just need this simple, practical reminders today. Just to say, man, pursuit is practical. Pursuit is intentional. Pursuit is done with words. Pursuit takes time. It's not instant overnight. And pursuit does not stop at I do. Come on, all my marriages. A vineyard takes 10 years before it produces good wine. Most marriages aren't even given time to grow before people quit. Relationships, things get tough or get hard, and things come up in our relationships, and It's in a world that now is very self-aware. It's easy just to back off when things get hard and there's tension. But can I encourage you in the consistency? If he's pursuing your heart with purity, if he's pursuing, or she, is pursuing you with character and doing it consistently, come on, let's just be a people that says we're committed to stay. We're committed to stay. We're committed for the long game. Are you still pursuing the heart of the one you love? Come on, if you're single, look for someone who pursues with consistency, not just intensity. If you're dating, don't just pursue love, protect it. Protect it. And if you're married, come on, keep dating your spouse. We say this, I think, almost every relationship series, but what's his first name? Gaines. Steve Gaines. We were probably 3 years into our marriage. And he said, dialogue daily, date weekly, and depart quarterly. And that's been something that has been so profound. I think some of us can be like, okay, we're doing the thing. We're going on a date every week. But come on, you can't just date every week. You kind of have to talk daily. The days that me and Parker don't get to talk, I'm like, just have so much I need to unpack with you. I turn into the 53% of the Shulamite woman just needing to get it all out, okay? You need to dialogue. Talk about what's on your heart. Let God open up your heart to create a space of safety with the one that you love. And come on, keep dating each other. Make it fun. Find fun ways to date each other and to continue to pursue and depart quarterly. The best marriages last because they keep pursuing love, but no pursuit, come on, is greater than the one Jesus had for us. No pursuit is greater than the one that Jesus had for us. So we talk about pursuing love. How do we pursue? Man, Jesus pursued our heart. When I was thinking of just him and listening to the blood this morning, I'm like, man, you went to all lengths to sacrifice for me. He gives us this example so that we will have an example of love as we pursue relationships and as we also pursue love. If you stand to your feet, come on. I love that Jesus' very first miracle. It was turning water into wine. His very first miracle. The very first miracle was at a wedding, and it was a place where love, commitment, and covenant were being celebrated. When they ran out of wine, Jesus took this ordinary water and he turned it into something extraordinary. Come on, that's a word for some of us in here. He can take what's ordinary and turn it into something extraordinary. And it wasn't just any wine, it was the best. It was the best wine. And the master of the banquet was so shocked, saying, man, everyone sets out the fine wine first, but you have kept the best wine until last. And I just want to remind you that the best love is found in Jesus. The very best love is found in him. This moment wasn't just about a wedding. It was a picture of what Jesus does in our own lives. It was a picture. Jesus used symbolism all throughout Scripture to help us remind us of who he is in our life. Many of us chase instant gratification instead of lasting love, but Jesus offers something so much better. And it's a love that isn't rushed, but it's refined. It took him 35 years to get to the cross for us. It was a process, a refining process. Just like wine takes time, Jesus patiently pursues us. He calls us, he shapes us, he invites us. Come on. And this, maybe you've been rushing love and settling for attraction over depth, but something is sparking and something over substance is sparking in your life. There has to be something over just the spark. Today, Jesus is inviting us into this love that isn't rushed, but it's refined. And what I truly believe about the love of Jesus is that when we sit with the heart of the Father that is pure and refined, he will teach us the holy pursuit. He will refine us in the pursuit. He will be patient with us in the pursuit. The greatest pursuit of love isn't just you chasing love, it's Jesus chasing after your heart.